Hello and welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to learn something about static files. So when we actually started with the tutorial series, what we did is that we actually created this directory structure in which we had the virtual environment, the static files and the templates. So as you could remember that each and every HTML file which we deal with, we actually store them in the templates directory. And if you go to the static directory, we actually made 3 more directories. The first one was CSS, then we had images, then we had JS. So the static directory is actually used to store the static content which is present on our website. So what I mean by static content is the content which is not going to be dynamic or which is going to be a stable one. So whenever you are making websites, you are always going to work with a little bit of JS, a little bit of CSS, and you also need some static images on your website as well. So that type of content which is actually going to remain static with respect to your website is going to be present in the static folder, and henceforth this folder is named as the static folder. So now we need to actually understand how to actually store in files in the static folder and how to actually access them in the Flask website. So what we are going to do is that we are going to create a JS file, and in order to keep it simple, rather than storing it in the JS folder, we will directly store that file in the static folder only. So the first thing which we need to do is that we need to create a JS file. So let me just copy this text document and let me go to static and let me paste it over here, and let me just right click on it, open it up, and let me just save as, let's say hello.js, and this is going to be all files, and let me just save it over here. So right now we have a JavaScript file which is named as hello.js. So what we are going to do is that we are going to add in some very basic content to this file, and we are going to learn how to use this file in our main code. So let me just open this thing up and let's make some changes to this file. So let me open this thing up with Sublime Text, and now let's type in some JavaScript in here. So let's say you want to create a function which let's say gives you some kind of alert. So you could type in function, and let's say the function's name is say hi. So you type say hi, and then let's type in alert, which is basically a function to display something as an alert. So let's say this says hi there. So this is a plain simple JavaScript. So if you already know JavaScript, that's okay, but if you don't know, then you don't need to worry. Just copy this code, because we are not learning JavaScript in this lecture series. This is just to give you guys an understanding like how JavaScript actually works with Flask. So once you have this JavaScript stored in this hello.js file, now what we need to do is that we need to have a way so that this JavaScript could actually be used. So now what we do is that we have a reference to this JavaScript in the hello.html file which we have right over here. So what we are going to do is that we are basically going to delete this thing first, because we will be writing the code from scratch. And to have a reference to a JavaScript file, you need to go into the head tag. This is what we usually do as well. So you type script type equals text slash JavaScript. And now, when you need to specify the source of the JavaScript file, you type src, which is nothing but the source, equals, and to specify the source, you mention it in double quotes and in curly brackets, and that is the double curly brackets. And here you type in URL_for, and to this URL_for function, you pass in 2 things. The first thing which you pass in is the path where your file is actually present. So if you actually look at the JavaScript file which is hello, it is actually present in the static folder. So we just go here and we type in static, and make sure that you mention that in single quotes. And once you have this thing, you also need to pass in the name of the file, because what might happen is that your static folder might contain a lot of JavaScript files. Hence, in order to distinguish between each and every file, we need to make sure that we provide a name over here. So let's type in file name equals, and the file name in this case is hello.js. So there we go. We have simply specified the folder as well as the file name. So that means this code actually understands that our file actually lies in this path right here. So once you are done with this, referencing your JavaScript file, what we need to do is that we need to access that function, which is the say hi function. So if you open this thing up, as you could see, now we want to access the say hi function over here. So let's say what you want to do is that you actually want to have a button over here, and whenever you click that button, the say hi function in the hello.js should be executed. So for that, we type an input type, and that should be equal to button, as we want a button here, and we type on click. So on click is basically you want to mention what happens when you click the button. So we want to execute the say hi function, which is nothing but this function right here. So you type in say hi, and the value of this function is going to be, let's say hi. Okay, so once this thing is done, you're pretty much good to go, and your JavaScript function and your index file is actually ready. And now also you need to make some changes to the app.py. That is basically you need to have something which will basically redirect you to this hello.html file. So currently we are redirecting to this file, but the problem is you need to make the change to the route. So you don't need this route right now. So even if you redirect to the home directory, it is going to work, and we are not passing any data. So you could also delete this thing, and you could also delete this thing as well. So once you make these changes, you're pretty much done with the code. Now let's go ahead, save the code in all of these three files, and let's start the server by typing python app.py. Okay, so now the website is up and running on the localhost address. So let me just copy this address so that I don't have to type it again. Let me open up my browser, and let's type in the URL, and let's hit enter. So as you could see, there is a button right now on the screen which says say hi, and when I click this button, as you could see, we get a nice little pop-up or alert box which says hi there. So this is how you could access JavaScript in your Flask website. So what we basically did is that we created a new file, that is the JS file, and we have placed it in the static folder. And then in order to reference it in the HTML code or the template, what we did is that we specified the script type as text and JavaScript, and for specifying the source, we actually used the URL for function, and to this function, you just need to pass in the folder name, which is static, and then you need to pass in the file name, which is the name of your JavaScript file. Once you have done that, what you could do is that you could use any function in your JavaScript code in the body of this HTML template. So we have done the same thing, that is we have used the say hi function, which is the JavaScript function, in this HTML template right here. And once we were done with this, what we simply did is that we made sure that the root URL actually points out to the HTML file which we have right here. So that was a simple example of how you could integrate or how you could use JavaScript into your HTML file, or how to use any static file for that matter. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.